What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Thursday edition of The Squeeze. I am Tyler Conium. Lots to get to today. It's going to be an all NHL day. Yesterday was an interesting day, and if you're not familiar with CLV, that's closing line value, you want to get your bet in before the line moves the other way and you get more value. For example, we bet the Jays Royals to go under 9 for minus 115. It closed at 8.5 for minus 115. That's closing line value of 5.4. We won that bet. With the Flames and the Jets under 6 for minus 105, it closed at under 6 for minus 120. 3.3% value. Now here's the kicker. Bet the Toronto Raptors as part of the best Toronto bet at plus 165. Smart didn't play. Tatum didn't play. That line moved all the way to minus 120. That is a closing line value of 17%, enough to actually go on the other side, bet the Celtics, and guarantee yourself profit, plus. Closed at minus 120, and they lost that game. So it could have been a monster day. Instead, it's a 2-in-1 day, and our fourth bet was Rory McIlroy to finish top 10 in the Masters, so that's to be determined on Sunday. And I did post my picks of who I've got, my Masters bets for the weekend. I've got Matsuyama top 10, Rahm top 10, Fleetwood to win, etc., etc. You can see that on my Twitter account. So a 2-in-1 day, but that Raptors game was such a bummer, man. I don't know what is going on with that team. You have under 2 minutes left in a 5-point game with playoff seeding on the line, and Nick Nurse is just sitting on the bench with his arms crossed. I think this team is checked out. I think Nurse has checked out. It's definitely got that feeling of the end of an era. It felt a little bit like that when Kawhi left, felt a little bit like that when Lowry left, but now it really feels like this is the last hurrah for... I think Siakam stays. I think Barnes is there, but I think Fred's gone. I think Nurse is probably gone, and it's just a shame, man. We had a hell of a run in Toronto, but it is what it is. That win would have really been a great day. We would have been up like 3 units just because of that, but it is what it is. And on that note, I'm done betting the NBA until the playoffs. It's just too volatile. It's the last week left. Guys are not playing. Guys are playing 20 minutes. It's impossible to predict anything. And so we're just going to press pause on the NBA until the playoffs and we get back to our regularly scheduled play time and all of that sort of stuff. And baseball, I'm just sort of laying in the weeds, picking my spots with baseball as we learn who these teams are. Obviously, the best Toronto bet today, the only Toronto team, well, the Leafs are playing as well, so we'll see, but probably a Blue Jays bet. But let's get into today. It's a 3-game hockey slate. There's 2 to 3, well, there's 3 days left of the NHL season. So my 3 bets today are all determined by who needs to win and how is that going to go. We're going to start with the Minnesota Wild and the Pittsburgh Penguins. I've got the Penguins to win this game in regulation, plus 120. That is at Pinnacle Sports. Coming into tonight, Minnesota's 42-23. Penguins are 38-29. At home, Penguins are 10 games above 500 at 22-12-5. On the road, Minnesota's been pretty good, 19-12-4. But the big deciding factor is, again, the playoff race. The Pittsburgh Penguins currently sit 3rd in the wild card. They are 1 point back of both the Islanders and the Panthers, while the Minnesota Wild are already set. They've clinched. They have 98 points. They're going to finish, outside of the wild card. They're going to finish 3rd in the Central Division. So they're done. So this is why you think, okay, what are the Pittsburgh Penguins going to do? They absolutely have to get a win. If they get a win here, they leapfrog from 3rd all the way into 1st in the wild card. And, you've got Sidney Crosby. You've got Evgeny Malkin. The Wild are playing well, but so are the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins are 4-1 in their last 5 games versus the Western Conference. They are coming off a loss to New Jersey, where they lost 5-1, but previous to that, they beat the Flyers. They lost to Boston. They've been playing tough games. They beat Nashville 2-0. Now you look at the Minnesota Wild, and they're giving up goals. They just played back-to-back games against Vegas, where they gave up 4 on each game. Then they won 4-2 against Colorado. They won 5-1 against Seattle. They lost 5-4 to Philadelphia. They're sort of in that holding pattern a little bit, just getting ready for the playoffs, because they were an under machine most of this season. At this point, they're only 42-31 to the under. So that's sort of going out the door. Marc-Andre Fleury's expected to play tonight, and you can say, well, he's come back home to play against Pittsburgh Penguins. Might be some added motivation there. Yeah, sure, but I think there's going to be more motivation on the Penguin side. So I'm taking the Pittsburgh Penguins plus 120 to win this game in regulation. Now, to the Ottawa Senators and the Florida Panthers. This one should be interesting. The Panthers need a win here. As I just mentioned, they are sitting first in the wild card with 87 points, but Pittsburgh with a win would leapfrog them, assuming Florida doesn't win tonight's game. So they're playing the Ottawa Senators, so we're out of the race. They're 6 games. Well, they're not completely out of it. They're 5 points back, and so I don't really necessarily want to pick a side on this, but I do like this game to go over the total of 7. The books think this game's going to land on 7, and I think there's great push potential here, and that's sort of why we're going to make that bet. But I do think it is warranted. You look at the recent games for each of these teams. For Florida, over is 3-0-2 in their last 5, and their opponent scores 2 or less goals in their previous games. I do look for a big bounce-back game here from from Ottawa. Over is 2-0-2 in their last 4, playing on 1 day's rest. And you look at Ottawa, they just been playing overs like crazy, right? Over is 10-1 in their last 11 Thursday games. You look at the recent scores for the Ottawa Senators. So there's been 5 goals, but then 7, 3, 9, 7, 8, 9. And then for the Florida Panthers, this total's been set at 7. 7 games in a row. The total's been set at 7. They've gone under, push, push, over, push, push, over. So I do think this game might be like 4-3. I'm hoping we can maybe get into overtime with like a 3-3 and they can push it, or hopefully we want to win this bet. So 5-2 or something like that. Well, that would be a push as well. You know what I'm saying. It's juiced to the under, but I think there's going to be a lot of goals scored in this game. I think both teams want to win this game. I think both teams are going to take some chances, and I think both teams don't have quite the stellar goaltending that they will need, so they're going to be a little bit of run and gun. So fine with the push at even money. Obviously, a 5-3 final or going to overtime at 4-4 would be nice as well. So over on 7, -105 at DraftKings. And our last bet, which is one we just made a couple days ago because they're playing back-to-back times, and I've got over 6.5 for the Coyotes and the Seattle Kraken. Again, playoff implications here. The Seattle Kraken are currently first in the wild card. They're 5 points ahead of Winnipeg and Calgary as well. So they've pretty much got this locked in, but they're still going to need a win, whereas the Coyotes obviously have gone the other way. They're 7th in the West. They're sort of, race to the bottom to try to see if they can get a chance at Connor Bedard. And we just picked over last time out. It was at 6.5. There were 9 goals, 8 of them scored by Seattle. So Seattle's on a mission. They could potentially wrap up the wild card, wrap up a playoff spot tonight, which I think they want to do. The Arizona Coyotes have lost 8 straight hockey games, and they've lost by 7, 5, 3, 1, 1, 2. Like, they're just getting dominated. The over has hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times in a row for Arizona. And the over is hitting for the Kraken as well. Over is 6-1 in their last 7 when their opponent scores 2 or less goals. Over is 5-1 in their last 6 versus the Central. And they're playing well, right? So, and over against each other is 3-0-1 in the last 4 meetings between the two teams. So my strategy today is to take teams that need a win against teams that really don't, and we're either going to look for overs or we're going to look for lines, and we're going to stay away from the NBA for a couple of days. Probably have a couple baseball bets to add later today, but I like betting those later on in the afternoon when I can. So that is your NHL card for Thursday. I like the Pittsburgh Penguins on the money line in regulation for +120 at Pinnacle Sports. I like the Ottawa Senators and the Florida Panthers to go over 7 for -105 at DraftKings. And I like the Kraken and the Coyotes to go over 6.5. That's -125 at DraftKings. As always, you can drop a comment if you're fading or following. Follow me on Twitter at Tyler Connie for more picks and props throughout the day and for your best Toronto bet. TikTok and Instagram for just the picks portions. Audio versions available on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Let's have a great Thursday. Let's talk sports.